Well, everyone, it's time for us to go ahead and compare the newly released AirPods Pro 2s against the AirPods Pro 1s and basically see which one is the better pair of AirPods for you. Now, I will tell you from my experience, if you currently own the AirPods Pro 1s, the ones that came out, I think back in 2019, I would probably still recommend keeping those specific devices. I don't think you should go and upgrade to the AirPods Pro 2s right now. I think, if you have the money, then go for it. It really doesn't make sense not to do it. But if you're in a position where you're perfectly content with your AirPods Pros, I think it's a good upgrade for sure. I think it's a bigger upgrade than going from the AirPods 2s to the AirPods 3s, but I don't think it's like a worthwhile change. Like, I don't think you have to spend the money. I think it's actually good that they're at a pretty decent price tag. But I do think if you currently own your set of AirPods, you should probably keep them. But with that being said, the AirPods Pro 2s are going to be here probably for the next 3 years. Apple may end up making an even pro-er version of these AirPods, but I don't think they're going to go ahead and, just remove these probably next year or the year after. Like, I don't think there's going to be a successor to these for the next few years. You look at AirPods as a whole, from the AirPods 1s to the AirPods 2s, there was a few years in between. The AirPods 2 to the AirPods 3s, there were a few years in between. So I think the same exact thing is going to happen here. It's not like an iPhone where there's a new one every year. These ones, it's probably going to be like this for the next few years. So if you're comfortable with that, then definitely go and upgrade to the AirPods Pro 2s. I think that's a great example. But for the one owners, I would probably recommend keeping it. Now on the outside, actually with the price tag, I was able to buy a set of AirPods Pros about a month and a half to 2 months ago. I walked into Target and I was able to buy one. I think for about $200. They were on sale at that moment. And these AirPods Pros can actually probably be bought for even less than that right now, probably around $180. If you're willing to go in the used market, which I would probably recommend not doing that, you can also get them that route. But with the AirPods Pros, the second generations, these are $249. So it's a little bit more expensive than the original AirPods Pros, but they are not more expensive than what the AirPods Pros were just being sold for. I believe they're around the same price. And I remember the AirPods Pros, I think they were selling for a little bit more than that, the original ones. So from a price tag standpoint, these ones aren't astronomically more expensive than the previous models. Now on the outside, they are built around the same, design. The cases are around the same size as well. They're almost identically the same thing. There's a few key differences. For one, the AirPods Pros didn't really have MagSafe capability when they first came out, but there was a variant that came out a little bit after that had that MagSafe wireless charging. The AirPods Pros had wireless charging from the first day they came out, but they didn't have that MagSafe capability. With these second generation ones, every single one of these actually do have MagSafe capability, which is actually really awesome. But another very interesting thing that's kind of funny is that there are two main differences that Apple has brought over with these second generation AirPods. So with these second gen ones, we now have a lanyard loop, which is very interesting. It's a little slit on the side that you can go and put a lanyard through. I don't even know if anybody's going to do this, but it is one key way that you can look at these AirPods and be like, oh, this is an AirPods Pro 2s versus an AirPods Pro 1s. So hopefully you don't get ripped off. If you're buying AirPods Pro 2s and they bring in AirPods Pro 1s, make sure you can go and see that lanyard loop. Now on the bottom, this is another big difference. The AirPods Pro 2s actually have built-in speakers. Now, they're not exactly how you think. They're mostly for alerting you with Find My. So if you ever lose your AirPods Pros, well, you can go ahead and hear a little dinging sound. If you ever heard your Find My iPhone, if you ever heard that sound, I'm assuming it'll go ahead and replay that sound with these AirPods as well, which is really awesome. Now you have to have AirPods Pro 2s to do this. You can still find your AirPods, with any AirPod for the most part, but in order to hear that sound, you actually do have to have these specific set of AirPods. So definitely keep that in mind. And from what I understand, these AirPods are also a little bit more durable than AirPods Pro 1s. So that might be another thing that you might want to look into as well. If you're somebody who's sweating a lot, I sweat a ton. So if you're wanting to go through something like that, well, then these AirPods Pros 2 are still going to be really good. And they're probably going to be more durable than the original AirPods. Another big thing that I guess some people haven't even seen, I didn't even know this until yesterday, is that AirPods Pro 2s, apparently, the ear tips are different sizes than AirPods Pro 1s. Now, this is a double-edged sword. For one, that's cool, whatever, right? But the other thing is that, one, if you currently own AirPods Pro 1s and you had a bunch of tips, well, they may not fit perfectly well inside of AirPods Pro 2s. So I would recommend for you to do a little bit more research on that. But another thing is if you're getting AirPods Pro 2s, you're going to have to spend more money on those specific the tips on those. So that might be a disadvantage too for some people. It's not a big ginormous deal. Apple already gives you tips within the box, so you'll probably be okay. But it is kind of an annoyance. They keep the same band sizes for the Apple Watches. I don't understand why they changed it up now for these AirPods, but it is what it is. Now with the AirPods Pro 2s, internally, there are some really big differences. Actually, I don't want to say that. There's a lot of overlap too, but from what I understand, there's a lot of cool things that AirPods Pro 2s have that the original AirPods actually don't have. Now the first thing being with these AirPods, a lot of the core features are exactly the same. So you still have noise reduction, you still have, the ability of, easy pairing and switching between devices and adaptive EQ. You have transparency mode between both, which is really cool. You have adaptive transparency mode that is not available on the AirPods Pros. So there are some features that are overlapping between both. But that last part I said, the adaptive transparency mode, that is not available on the original AirPods Pros, but we have that capability on the AirPods Pro 2s, which is actually really awesome. So you also have personal spatial audio, which is really awesome. So you did kind of have that with AirPods Pros, but now it's been enhanced a little bit more, which is actually really cool. You have automatic switching, like I mentioned. You have Hey Siri support as well, which is awesome. But the AirPods Pro 2 actually have a new H2 chip inside of it. So it should give you a better experience overall, which is actually really awesome. And that is something I'm really happy to see with these types of differences, with Apple bringing in those little tiny things like a new H2 chip. That's going to be around for many more years. I would imagine that these AirPods are going to be here for the next 2 years. We're going to get AirPods 4s, and then probably a year after that or 2 years, we're probably going to get AirPods 3s at that point, or AirPods Pro 3s at that point. Now, on top of that, there are some new buttons on the side as well, which is actually really cool. So I believe the original AirPods also had some sort of buttons, but these ones should give you a little bit of a better experience, and they're a little bit more customizable when it comes down to it as well. Now, one of my favorite things that AirPods Pro 2s actually ended up bringing, or rather fixing, is actually battery life. Original AirPods Pros were notorious of not really having the best battery life, which was weird because they had pretty big battery cases. Like the cases within these were fairly large, so it was very strange that these AirPods didn't have like better battery life than like AirPods 3s, but that ended up kind of, being alleviated a little bit here and there. With these AirPods Pro 2s, you are going to be getting, apparently from Apple, 33% better battery life than the original AirPods Pros. Now, I'm not a heavy user of AirPods in general. I like EarPods better, but I will tell you, I did experience kind of a lot of battery drain from my original AirPods versus my AirPods 2s. So my AirPods Pros, in my opinion, had worse battery life than my AirPods 2s, which was so weird. But in this case, if you're wanting to go from AirPods Pros to the AirPods Pro 2s, you should be getting better battery life, which is a really awesome thing for sure. So to kind of wrap up this whole entire video, I will tell you, if you have AirPods Pros, I don't really think you should go and upgrade to the 2s. Like, I think it's like a good upgrade, but there's not really a huge point into doing so. But if you currently don't have either one of these AirPods, then going up to the AirPods Pro 2s makes the most amount of sense to me. Unless you're able to get like the original AirPods Pros for like $150 or cheaper than that, then I would just recommend going up to the Pros 2s. These things are going to be giving you better battery life, a way longer runway of future, if you know what I mean. Like, these things are going to be supported for a long period of time, and they are not going anywhere anytime soon. If you look at past from Apple, unless they drop some random new category of AirPods that's in between the Pros and the Max, well then these are probably going to be here for quite a bit of time, and I'd probably recommend going for the Pros 2s in my opinion. I do think it's a pretty big upgrade. So in terms of that kind of covers it up here. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.